Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. This is Coaching Think Talk. Welcome. I am Coach Maan from Life Coach Philippines, and this is Coaching for a Healthy Mind Space. This coaching conversation is for individuals who are experiencing uncertainty and overwhelm in their lives due to some negative and unhealthy thoughts that they are battling in their minds. And it is my desire to help them break free from thinking these thought patterns, and so they can, through the renewing of their mind, so they can have full and abundant lives as they journey their calling and purposes. And I'd like to thank you for joining me live this afternoon. Do leave your digital footprint and let me know where you are watching me from. Also, you may tag a friend, or any of your family members who you think will benefit from our conversation this afternoon. And please help me circulate this video so that more people will be able to see it and benefit from our conversation. And if you are watching this on a replay, please type in replay in the comments. And I am streaming via the Facebook page of Life Coach Philippines and also in YouTube via the Coach AI Connect channel. So if you are new to any of these platforms, please like, follow, and subscribe our account so you will be updated with what we are doing here in Life Coach Philippines. And allow me to introduce myself. I am Coach Maan Lamorena. I am a certified life coach. I am also a certified mental toughness coach. And I am a wife and a mother to a 4-year-old girl. Now, before I became a life coach, I worked in human resources for 10 years. And after that, I decided I wanted to shift, have a change of scenery. And so I decided to become a freelancer. And I did digital marketing for different local and international retail brands. And at the same time, since I was freelancing, I had extra time. So I also coach a football and a futsal coach here in General Santos, where I am currently located. But of course, with the pandemic and a lot of outdoor activities have been prohibited. So I had to set that aside. And interestingly, the pandemic has allowed me, and among all the other people, to pivot. And now I find myself in a profession that I truly enjoy because it's a profession that is helping and serving others, and that is life coaching. So I am also the owner and creator of this Facebook group, You Renewed Facebook Community. And this is a Facebook community wherein I talk about and I share different thoughts and ideas on how you can win the battle in your mind. So if this is something that you are passionate about or something that you are interested to learn more of, I do hope that you can enjoy. You can join my Facebook group. And also, if you want to reach me, this is my Facebook page. That's Coach Maan. So I hope that you can also like and follow it as well. So and throughout our conversation this afternoon, if there's anything that would jump at you and you think that this is really something that is very enlightening, I do hope that you can share it. You can just add hashtag Pack My Bag Moment and hashtag Coaching Think Talk so that more people will also be blessed by our conversation this afternoon. So I mentioned earlier that this is coaching for a healthy mind space, and I have been talking about that for more than 4 months already, I believe. And I will never get tired of it. I will never get tired of saying that having a healthy mind space is essential because any unhealthy thoughts that we have in our mind, any negative mental clutter that is there, if it is left unattended, will really have an impact in how we live our lives. It can make it challenging for us to think clearly. It can prevent us from processing our thoughts better and even prevent us from making better decisions. Because ultimately, our thoughts drive our emotions, and our emotions are what leads to our actions. So, that is very important. They are all connected. So we must take care of them all. It's not just the physical, not just the emotional, but also the mental aspect. Also the spiritual, of course. So before I begin, I would like to just acknowledge those who are watching with me. Thank you, Coach Tin. Thank you for being here. I know that you're very busy. I hope that you will learn a lot from what I will be sharing this afternoon. And so let's now move forward. And today I would like to share something that has been quite a challenge for me before, but I'm learning to discover it, and I'm really learning to see the empowering freedom that I can benefit from learning this thing that I will be sharing this afternoon. And you see, in our everyday lives, usually we just have two small words that we use to guide our actions and decisions. These two words, these are yes and no. And yes, it has always been acknowledged as an opportunity giving word. When you hear yes, you think of engaging people, you think of building relationships, you think of taking risk. And when you hear yes, it's an open-minded kind of word. But um, that's the beauty of yes. And yes is also linked to adventure. You hear people saying yes to adventure, or with Coach Lean, a special mention, yes, say yes to the unknown. So there's always an idea of an adventure, right? And it fuels adrenaline induced escapades. When you say yes, you imagine saying it with so much power and vigor that you really get so excited just hearing it. And with all the with all the context and subcontext of the word yes, you know that when you hear it, there's also so much power in that word. We love the ambition that we can draw from a yes, from someone answering yes to whatever you're offering her or him, right? And we love how very empowering is the word yes. When you hear it, it's really very inspiring, encouraging. However, its antonym, the word no, when you hear it, it's often related to something that is negative, something that is fear driven. It sounds like a close minded word. But the truth is that no is as equally powerful as the word yes. In fact, when you get down to it, it's so powerful. Your no is so powerful that it's really very hard to master saying no. And if you don't have any trouble saying no, then good for you. I rejoice with you because you're able to enjoy the freedom and power that comes with it. But if you are one like me, who struggled, who's sometimes still struggling with speaking out this tiny syllable, I really encourage you to stick around and listen to what I have to say, hear my heart out, and I really hope that at the end of this conversation, you'll be able to also harness the power of saying no in your everyday life. So, Oprah Winfrey said that no is a complete sentence. And when I think about it, or when you think about it, it really is a complete sentence. So, for example, someone asks you, would you like to eat? No. Would you like to go out with me? No. It's a complete sentence. And it brings with it a lot of emotions, right? Depending on the question that precedes the no. But really, saying no is very hard. It's hard. And I want you to understand that if you have a problem with saying no, if you're having a challenge in saying no, you are not alone. You are not alone. So don't think that you're weird. Don't think that it's just you. But a lot of people have a hard time saying no. And social psychologist Dr. Vanessa Bond said in her 2016 research that many people agree to things, even things they would prefer not to do, simply to avoid the considerable discomfort of saying no. Maybe that's you. You don't like saying no because you find it uncomfortable saying it. And man or woman, as social creatures, we all want to belong. We all want to be part of a community. And we also want to preserve our relationship. So sometimes instead of saying no when we really want to decline, we just blurt out yes because we don't want to be seen as difficult and we don't want to hurt other people's feelings. And we don't want to disappoint a friend, right? So that's why it's easier for us to say yes rather than saying no. And sometimes we also say no because the underlying reason for that is our past. Probably growing up, we were never really able to learn to advocate for ourselves, what we want, what our desires are, and sometimes also we say no when we don't say no because it's possible that we want to say yes because we really want to help, but we forget that our ability to accommodate others isn't an endless well. So even if you really want to say no because you're tired, you just say yes instead. And others, for those who are working, probably you've experienced this. You worry that when you say no to something um, that your boss or your office mate or your colleague told you to do, they might see you as someone that that is not really promotable, or that it says something about your ability to finish or accomplish a task, that it says something about you as a person. So it makes you think that saying no will make you look incompetent, and you don't want to do that. So that's why you say yes instead of a no. And probably, in different settings, you've said that, not just in work relationships, but in family relationships, in finances. It's really hard to say no. And no is hard to say because no is hard to hear. When you say no to others, you're already anticipating that it's going to hurt them. You think of the times that you've asked someone and you heard them say no and how it hurt you, and that's what you're projecting, right? And because most of us, we like to be liked by our peers, we get this uneasy feeling in our stomach that pushes us to say yes instead of saying no. But it is very important to say no. I mean, I could never really um, overemphasize that. It really is important to say no. Of course, not in everything, but in certain things, and we'll get to that. So whether we say yes to avoid conflict or because we've been molded into, sadly, being people pleasers over the years because of certain situations that we found ourselves into or certain relationships we found into, the truth is that not being able to say no can take a toll, not just in our relationships, but also on our mental health, right? When people don't respect your boundaries, when people continue to take advantage of your good nature, of your generosity, of your kindness, you can feel hurt and disrespected by their actions. I've experienced that before, and I know it's because I was not able to say no to honor my boundaries, and I got hurt. I really got hurt. So when we say no to commitments, to requests, or even conversations that we don't want to be part of, it is really helping us set boundaries that will prevent us from getting drained, and that will protect, as a whole, and it will also strengthen our mental and emotional health. Saying no will help set that for you. Saying no will help others recognize that you have these boundaries, that there are certain rules that you have placed to protect yourself. And, the thing with this is that it's not just an external no. That's very important for us. Having also the power to say an internal no, it reflects our self-discipline. No to eating junk food. Oh, I love that. No to abusive relationships. Oh, that's very important. That's very huge. And also saying no to, especially the CCQ, mindless online shopping, when your bank account is saying no and your heart is saying yes, right? So we have to say no. So whether it's a relationship with food, it's an issue of a lack of work-life balance, or it can be a harsh internal critic that you have yapping at you every single time. At one point, we've all crossed that line that we drew for ourselves, and we ended up feeling either hurt, burnt out, tired, stressed, and now we look back and we just tell ourselves and say that we wish we said no instead. So there is power in saying no. Understand that saying no takes strength and practice. It's not going to be easy. You're not going to come out of this talk later and be, on your way to saying no to everything. There's a certain habit that you have to cultivate to be able to say no. But Here's the thing. With the right perspective and also the habitual practice of saying no to certain things, then you can definitely enjoy the power and freedom that saying no will bring to your life. And you can use the power of saying no minus the guilt, because sometimes, we always say yes, but really we want to say no. And then we feel guilty afterward. So let me share with you what you need to do to help you be more firm in saying no. If this is something that you're having trouble with, then buckle up and listen, and this will really help you. So the first thing that you need to understand when you want to say no is that you have to take a look at your own personal limits. Of course, we all have our limits. We all have our limitations. And it's very important that when we make a decision whether to say yes or no, we take into account the limitations that we have. It is important to draw clear boundaries for ourselves, when it comes to work, family, relationships, finances, and even our social life. We are not an endless well of energy and resources. We have our limits. And how do we actually do this? Well, we start by looking at the limits that we have in place, and then we expand on them. Obviously, you already have certain limits that you have in place, whether these are limits that you intentionally did or limits that were just given to you. Probably like a bank account limit. Um, for others, for the younger ones, a curfew, especially now with ECQ. We have a curfew, right? So we have a limit. You cannot go outside past, I believe that's 8 p.m. Please correct me if I'm wrong. So there, you already have these limits in place. But sometimes we're just not aware. So we have to go back to a self-awareness of what our limits are. And probably an example of these limits would be someone who wants a designer bag, but the bank account is saying no. Okay, the bank account is saying no, you cannot have a designer bag. So that's a personal limit. Or sometimes it could be as deep as in a relationship. Who do you allow to speak into your situation? You don't just go around telling others your problem and letting them speak into your life. You have limitations. You have people that you trust, that you will listen to, that you will allow to speak into your life. So the others who probably want to give an input, then you can say no to what they have to say, right? And that's why it's very important that for you to be able to take a look at your own personal limitations, that you really take some time to think through. If you can even journal it so that you have a clear list of what your limits or your boundaries are, it's better that you define them. Because when you don't define something, when it's not clear, then the more that it's easier for you to go beyond that boundary, to go beyond that limit, because it's not clearly defined. So what you can do is you can start asking yourself these questions. For example, what would life look like if I did maintain these boundaries? So probably that's a boundary in your spending limit, a boundary in your hanging out with certain people, a boundary in the food that you consume, something like that. You can also ask yourself this question. Are there any challenges I have to work through to be able to honor these limits that I have? So probably with spending, if you like a bit of spending on the side, then that's a challenge, right? Or if you like to reward yourself with a treat after a hard day, and if that goes every single day, then that's going to be a challenge. So after that, you also need to write down what support do I need, because you would need support. You would need support, and you have your family and your friends to help you, because there will be challenges that you cannot do on your own. So that's why you also have to be clear about that when you write down what your limitations are. Just think of this, just going back to the pandemic, right? Work-life boundaries, they're all blurred. So it's an example of all the more that you need to look at your personal limitations and really writing down what are the things that you will say yes to and what are the things that you will say no to, what are the things that you will just disregard at a certain time, or all those things, because everything's being blurred because of the situation that we are in. Then again, it's very important that you be clear, that you take a hard look at your own personal limitations and write it down. Make it clear, make it plain. So when you think of all these things, it will help you to be clear on what you want, to be clear on your goals, and it will also help you to be less emotionally reactive when certain situations demand your answer and you need to say no. The second thing that you need to understand is when you say no, you have to be clear about your no. It doesn't, it doesn't mean that when you say no to someone, you always have to explain yourself. Like, oh, this is why I'm saying no. That is well and good, but really, you have to be clear about your no for yourself. First and foremost, you have to be clear about your no for yourself. And it sounds easy, right? But really, it's not. Because sometimes, especially when we talk to other people, sometimes we don't even know why we're saying no or why we're saying yes. Because again, we're letting our emotions and our overactive imagination make the decision for us. So that's why we have to take time to be clear with what our no's are. And also when we say no to other people, we have to be really clear about it. We sometimes get lost in the niceties and flowery words, right? Instead of saying no, we say words that do not actually say no and also do not actually say yes. So the other person who's hearing you answer do not get the clear message. And because of that, sometimes it ends up to others having, what do you call this, certain expectations from you, from your end, because they did not get a clear answer from you. Okay? And that's why when you're about to say no, just say it. Just really say it. It's helpful to think through what would logically happen if you say no versus saying yes. So at least you're able to say out your answer and be clear about it. Um, Probably an example would be think of what you would feel if you attend an event that they were inviting you to. Would you feel overwhelmed or not? So when you think logically of what could happen, then that could help you be clear about your no. And when you are clear with your answer, it also speaks of your value as a person with clarity and integrity. Because we don't want to be saying yes when we really don't want to do that, when we really want to decline. And at the end, we say no. Then, people will see us sometimes as flaky or someone that can't be trusted. And we don't want that. We want them to see us that whatever words we say, it has value, that they can count on it, that we are a person who can be trusted with our words. We have to be responsible with our words. That's why it's important that we be clear with our no. Okay. Now, of course, when you say no, there are a lot of considerations. It's not just for yourself and situation, but also for the person that you are saying no to. So the third thing that we need to remember is that we have to prepare ourselves for the reaction of others. And usually, we don't say no immediately when we want to because we are already thinking of how they will react. We're already thinking that they will get mad, they will say something. And if we're going to be honest, sometimes there is a basis for us thinking that way because not everyone will really be happy with our decision to say no. Others, will probably look at you and just accept your no for just a no, that it's just your answer. But let's face it, there are others who will not. Some of them might question you, and some of them might even make you feel like your answer is a mistake. And usually that's the kind of reactions we avoid. That's why we say yes when we don't mean that. So usually, just to explain, this kind of questioning your answer happens when some people feel entitled to you or your space or even your energy and your time. And they might see you as holding some kind of obligation towards them. And probably also because in previous experiences, you were not able to be clear about your boundaries. And so because they didn't think there were any boundary, they just felt that way and they responded that way to you. So that's why you have to be prepared if suddenly, you decided that, hey, I want to put my boundaries, suddenly I want to say no. When you've been saying yes, then that's also when you have to be mentally and emotionally prepared for what their reaction will be. And that's why we need to go back to number 2. That's why you have to be clear about your no. Because when you know why your no is clear, when you know why your no is clear, yes, when you know why your no is clear, then you don't need to explain yourself to others. And they can question you, make you feel like you're making a mistake, but you can stick by your decision, right? So that's why saying, when you are in a position that you feel like you're being up against a wall, you can try wielding this powerful sword that is called no. When you see yourself, when you see people coming at you with, with something that you feel you are not ready to commit to, you are not ready to get on board with, you have to be ready to draw a line and stick to it. Because while saying no may leave them slightly disappointed or for others upset even, it will establish a concrete boundary for you and your future. And that is how it will empower you, because you're starting to do that. You're starting to put the boundaries. So the next time that these boundaries are challenged or pushed, stand your ground and just say no. Of course, I've mentioned this earlier. When you make the decision to, as you prepare yourself for the reaction of others when you say no, then you have to stick to your decision, right? And when you stick to it, you will soon begin to feel empowered, and you will soon begin to feel comfortable in your life because you're making the decision for yourself and not for others. Sticking to boundaries will help you improve your self-esteem. And you can also feel yourself getting less anxious of what they will see or what they will say about you. And also, it will allow you to be calm because, again, as I've mentioned, you're making the decision for yourself. You know you're doing this for yourself. And often, people don't feel like they can say no because usually it's something that we have internalized for ourselves. Um, we fear that when we say no, we are creating conflict by disappointing someone. Or sometimes we feel that when we say no, we're actually taking the easy way out. But usually, it's just something that we've internalized. It's probably that inner critic yapping at our minds. And when we see or when we find ourselves thinking these thoughts when we are about to decide and say no, then it's best that we sit down and reframe our thoughts. Again, we go back to the questions in number one. Let us go back to, what are these things serving me? If I say yes to this, or if I say no to this, how will this serve me? How will this affect me in the future? And so on and so forth. Need to be clear before you make that decision. And it's also okay to question yourself if you are making a good decision by saying no. It's really okay. There will be times when you want to say no and you start to question yourself, wait, is this the right thing? It's also okay to feel that way. As I've said, if you feel yourself having these thoughts and you're not sure what your answer will be, go back to step number one. Go back to tip number one and ask yourself those questions. And it will help you decide and make everything clear for you. And after you've stuck to your decision, the next thing that you need to do is to take a step back from your emotions. And this can be super hard to do, especially if you're like me, who's a very emotional person. I'm very, very in touch with my emotions. So if you're like me and you're probably wondering, can I do that? Can I take a step back from my emotions? Do people actually do that? Because those are the first thoughts that came into my mind. And amazingly, the answer is yes. Sometimes we have to do that. We have to step back from our emotions. And we take a step back from our emotions because it can help us reevaluate the situation that we are in. It can help us, zoom out and have a clearer perspective of why we're making the decisions we're making, or why we're not making the decisions we need to be making. And doing this allows us to actually outline or see the kind of environment, the kind of ecology, the kind of habitat that you want for yourself. That you is important for you to create for yourself so you can thrive, you can flourish, you can grow, you can be mentally well and mentally fit. And the only way that you can do that is when you step back from your emotions. And you don't, you see everything in a bigger perspective, and you don't allow any other external influence you from making a decision that you might regret later on. So when you're about to say no, think about your ideal situation, think about what you want, and think about what you need to do to be able to create that, and how are your boundaries going to help you create that ideal environment for you. And when you've connected that, then you're able to say no. If usually the answer is no, then now you have that extra confidence to actually go back, because you know you've made a decision logically and not emotionally. And last but not the least, you can also offer an alternative. For me, sometimes I'd like to say yes, but the timing is off, or I've already had previous engagement, or if there's another reason that you can't accept, just, but you'd like to help in the future, then if that's the case, then the best thing that you can do is to still say no, but offer an alternative. And make sure that when you offer an alternative, it's something that you're comfortable with. It's something that you wouldn't be stretching yourself out, okay? It's something, this alternative is something that still honors your needs, okay? So that could probably offer another resource, another date, or another schedule. It really depends. It really depends. If you have the connection, the resources, the time, you can offer that. Whatever alternative that is available to you, that is not stretching you out, that is still honoring your needs, you can do that. Okay. Also, when you share other recommendations, it also shows to others that you're being helpful, that you're not just saying no and closing the relationship, but that, hey, I'm saying no right now because there are things that I need to do, but I still like to keep our relationship open. I'd still like to have I'd still like to keep that opportunity open for future collaborations or future deals, that kind of thing. So it's showing that at the end of the day, your no does not mean that you're not being helpful, that you are still honoring your boundaries and taking care of yourself, but that you also want to honor their commitment. You also want to honor their commitments, their projects, that you also care for them. When you offer an alternative, that's what you do, that you show them that you care. You show them that you care, and you're also able to care for yourself. So those are just some of the things that you can do. You see, at the end of the day, if you keep your ultimate reason for saying no in mind, if it's very clear to you, you will always remember why you have to stay strong and stick to your decisions and boundaries that will help you say no. And whether that reason is for you to create a better situation, a better relationship, a better environment, whatever it is, that is your reason for saying no in the first place. You have to keep that, and you have to honor that. And it might be hard not to give in. Of course, there will be times when you will be tempted. But always remember why you had to set the boundaries in first place. Remember that you are not just, you're protecting yourself. You would like to keep yourself safe. And in the same way, you're also protecting them, right? So saying no may be hard, and it's truly easier to just say yes to things we'd rather decline. But, when we are transparent with our feelings, with our needs, when we are transparent with our limits, this can actually lead to healthier and more authentic relationships. You're not hiding anything. You're not being pretentious. You're not stretching yourself too thin. It can lead you to a healthier and authentic relationship. And when you say no and honor your feelings, your needs, and your limits, then it can also lead to a healthier you, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. It's an authentic and healthier you that you are creating when you harness the power of no. And thankfully, saying no is a skill anyone can just build. The key is to keep practicing. And so I'd like to end with this from Josh Billings. Half of the troubles of this life can be traced to saying yes too quickly and not saying no soon enough. And I know that if you implement at least one from the tip that I gave earlier, um, and you stick to it, you really try to cultivate it as a habit, you will see results that can have a life changing impact. And I'm really excited to see that and hear from you. And if you feel, on the other hand, if you feel that you are ready to go deeper in transforming your life and your thought pattern, then let's have a conversation after this talk. Life change doesn't happen overnight, but you can take a step forward now. And you can move from where you are to where you want to be. You know, um, doesn't happen overnight, but it can happen. And if that's you, you may just type hashtag deeper into the comments so I can send a message to you after the talk. Or if you prefer to do it privately, then you can just send me a message. These are the ways that you can contact me. And I'm really excited to hear from you. I'm really excited how we can trade your overwhelm, your uncertainty for clarity and direction. And I really hope that I'll be able to connect with you in the coming days. And as I end, I'd also like to invite you to be part of what we are doing as an organization in Life Coach Philippines. So this is the Be Learning e-card. And if you are not yet a smart holder of this, I do really, truly encourage you to get one, to register and get one. Because not only will you get these what do you call this, benefits and perks such as a 5% discount of food and drinks beverage from Teacup Coffee Republic. You will also get a free master class, a free monthly mental model master class by Master Coach A. And aside from that, you will also get a 90-minute coaching session with senior coaches from Life Coach Philippines. So that's a very good deal. And if you are new to the concept of a mental model, this is actually an explanation of how something works. It is a concept, a framework, or a worldview that a person holds to help them understand and interpret the world around them. So mental models, these are deeply held beliefs about how the world works. And if you're curious to know about different mental models, I really invite you to join us in Be Learning Society. And mental models, they are critical. They are critical category of knowledge that gets more relevant over time. And it's not just limited in one domain. Well, once you realize that the beauty of a mental model is that you can actually use it and utilize it in different domains of your life. But first, of course, you have to understand the concept. You have to understand the mental model. And so this August 21, we will be having the polymath. We will be discussing the polymath mental model. And you can, when you attend this, you can actually learn how you can combine your skills and become the superstar in your field. Because we all have different skills. But now here with Be Learning, you will understand how you can utilize it in different areas of your life. So I'd like you to, register. I really hope that you would register and, be transformed with how you think, how you view the world. Join us in Be Learning Society. So you may contact Coach Rizal at 0917-586-1661. And also, if you are someone who intend to embark on a journey of becoming a certified life coach, we also would like to invite you to join the Actively Co-Create Life Coach Certification Program. This is a comprehensive approach to learning and mastering life coaching as an active process of creating a new path to achieving results in your life so that success can be inevitable. And this coaching program actually includes a 21-day web-based learning, a 3-day live coaching bootcamp with Master Coach A, and another 3-day live business bootcamp with senior coaching team. And Other than that, there are also other bonuses and freebies that you'll get once you register for this certification. So again, contact Coach Rizal at 0917-586-1661 to discover the opportunities waiting for you in this profession. Probably this is a time for you to pivot from whatever you are doing now and see how life coaching can transform your life and the life of the people around you. So again, I'd like to invite you for another coaching conversation this afternoon with Coach Tin at Coaching for Relationship. That's at 4 p.m. Still here at Life Coach Philippines Facebook page. And once again, this is Coach Maan from Life Coach Philippines for Coaching Think Talk. Coaches like us think and talk like this. This is us from the Philippines. Thank you and love Bamboo. Bye.